Imagine a world where people work hard every day, yet receive little in return. Imagine believing that a great revolution will change everything, only to discover that the new leaders become just as oppressive as the old ones. This is the powerful message behind Animal Farm, one of the most influential novels ever written. Written by George Orwell, Animal Farm may seem like a simple story about animals living on a farm, but beneath its surface lies a deep exploration of power, corruption, leadership, propaganda, and human nature. Even decades after it was published, its lessons remain relevant because it reveals how easily noble ideals can be twisted when power falls into the wrong hands. Today, we will explore the story, its characters, and the important life lessons that everyone can learn from it. The dream of a better world. The story begins on Manor Farm, where the animals live under the ownership of a farmer named Mr. Jones. He neglects the animals, takes advantage of their labor, and gives them little in return. The animals work hard, but the benefits of their work go mostly to humans. One night, an old and respected pig named Old Major gathers all the animals together. He shares a dream of a society where animals are free from human oppression. In his vision, animals would own the fruits of their labor, live equally, and support one another. This moment teaches an important lesson. Every major change begins with an idea. Throughout history, people have challenged injustice because they believed a better future was possible. Hope often becomes the first step toward transformation. However, hope alone is never enough. A dream requires wise leadership and constant vigilance if it is to survive. The revolution. After Old Major dies, the animals continue discussing his ideas. Eventually, circumstances push them into action. They rebel against Mr. Jones and drive him away from the farm. For the first time, the animals control their own destiny. They rename the property Animal Farm and establish principles designed to ensure equality among all animals. The atmosphere is filled with excitement and optimism. Everyone works enthusiastically because they believe they are building a fairer society. The animals experience a sense of freedom they have never known before. At this point, the story highlights the incredible power of unity. When individuals work together toward a common goal, they can overcome challenges that once seemed impossible. Yet history repeatedly shows that winning freedom is often easier than preserving it. Among the animals, two pigs emerge as leaders, Snowball and Napoleon. Snowball is intelligent, energetic, and passionate about improving life on the farm. He develops plans, educates the animals, and encourages participation. Napoleon, on the other hand, is quieter and more secretive. Rather than inspiring others through ideas, he focuses on gaining control. The ability to distinguish between the two is essential in every society. Once Napoleon secures power, the original ideals of the revolution begin to fade. He starts making decisions without consulting other animals. Rules are quietly altered. Information becomes tightly controlled. Criticism is discouraged. The animals notice certain inconsistencies, but many are uncertain about their memories. Others fear speaking out. Gradually, the farm transforms from a community based on equality into a dictatorship controlled by a small elite. One of the most important lessons of Animal Farm is that power can change people. Individuals who once fought against oppression may become oppressors themselves if they are not held accountable. Power is not inherently evil. In fact, effective leadership is necessary for any organization or society. However, when power operates without transparency, accountability, or limits, corruption often follows. This lesson applies not only to governments, but also to workplaces, organizations, schools, and even personal relationships. Throughout the story, Napoleon relies heavily on a pig named Squealer. Squealer possesses a remarkable ability to manipulate language. Whenever Napoleon makes a questionable decision, Squealer explains why it is supposedly necessary. When conditions worsen, he insists that life is improving. When promises are broken, he creates excuses. When history becomes inconvenient, he rewrites it. The animals often accept these explanations because they lack access to alternative information. This aspect of the story remains extremely relevant today. We live in an age where information spreads rapidly through television, social media, and the internet. Not all information is accurate. The lesson is simple but powerful. Always think critically. Do not accept claims solely because they are repeated confidently or frequently. Ask questions. Examine evidence. Seek multiple perspectives. Critical thinking is one of the most valuable skills a person can develop. Boxer, the symbol of hard work. Among all the characters, Boxer is perhaps the most beloved. A strong and loyal horse, Boxer dedicates himself completely to the success of Animal Farm. Whenever difficulties arise, he adopts two personal mottos. I will work harder. And later, Napoleon is always right. Boxer's dedication is admirable. He represents honesty, perseverance, and commitment. However, his story also contains a warning. Boxer works tirelessly, but rarely questions authority. He places complete trust in his leaders, believing that hard work alone will solve every problem. Unfortunately, when Boxer becomes old and injured, the leadership he served so faithfully abandons him. This heartbreaking development teaches a profound lesson. Hard work is important, but it is not enough. People must also think independently, understand their rights, and hold leaders accountable. Loyalty is valuable. Blind loyalty is dangerous. Another recurring theme in the novel is the importance of education. The pigs become the most powerful animals, partly because they possess greater knowledge. Many other animals struggle to read or understand complex issues. As a result, they become vulnerable to manipulation. The story demonstrates that education is more than academic achievement. Education empowers individuals to make informed decisions, recognize deception, and protect their freedoms. Knowledge acts as a shield against exploitation. For viewers watching this video, this lesson may be one of the most practical. Never stop learning. Read books. Develop critical thinking skills. Stay curious. The more informed you become, the harder it is for others to mislead you. How good intentions can be corrupted. The revolution began with noble goals: equality, freedom, and justice. Yet over time, these ideals disappear. Why? The answer is not that the original goals were bad. The problem is that protecting ideals requires continuous effort. Many organizations, movements, and institutions begin with admirable intentions. However, if leaders prioritize personal interests over collective values, corruption can emerge. The story reminds us that principles must be defended consistently. Values are not self-sustaining. They survive only when people actively uphold them. It is tempting to blame only Napoleon for the farm's decline. Certainly, his actions play a major role. However, Orwell suggests that ordinary individuals also bear responsibility. Many animals notice warning signs, but remain silent. Some avoid difficult questions. Others assume someone else will solve the problem. This reflects a broader truth about society. Freedom and justice require participation. When people disengage, corruption becomes easier. Each individual has a responsibility to stay informed, speak honestly, and contribute positively to their community. change does not depend solely on leaders. It depends on citizens as well. The meaning of the ending. The ending of Animal Farm is one of the most famous conclusions in literature. As time passes, the pigs begin behaving more and more like humans. They adopt the habits, privileges, and attitudes that they once condemned. Eventually, the distinction between pigs and humans becomes nearly impossible to see. The animals look through a window and realize they can no longer tell who is who. This final image carries a powerful message. When leaders become obsessed with power, they may gradually resemble the very forces they once opposed. Without accountability, revolutions can reproduce the same injustices they originally sought to eliminate. The ending encourages readers to remain vigilant. Progress is never guaranteed. Every generation must protect freedom, fairness, and truth. Whether we are students, workers, parents, teachers, or leaders, the message remains the same. We must strive to be people who value honesty over convenience, wisdom over ignorance, and service over power. If we remember these lessons, the story of Animal Farm becomes more than a warning. It becomes a guide for creating a fairer, wiser, and more compassionate world.